Despite the danger that COVID 19 presents to lawmakers, the Republican led Congress has returned. Now, of course, they're taking common sense measures, social distancing, wearing masks, and all that. But nonetheless, they are back in session in person. So you might ask, are they working on what are they working on? Are they working on a coronavirus aid package to help the 30 million people who are unemployed? How about helping the millions of people who can't pay their rent by maybe working on some sort of package that would cancel rents or mortgages, perhaps? What about aid to help the many bankrupt states or states that are losing lots of money as a result of these stay at home orders? Are they doing anything like that? No. No, of course they're not. No, they're here to chew bubblegum and confirm hardcore right wing Trump judges. And guess what? They have all run all out of bubblegum. According to HuffPost, the Senate Majority Leader has loaded up the agenda with hearings for Trump nominees, including Justin Walker, conservative, McConnell-backed pick to be a federal judge in the U.S. Court of Appeal in the District of Columbia Circuit. Now, that is one step removed from the Supreme Court. A lot of people who end up on that District of Columbia Court go on to serve in the Supreme Court. Very important nomination. A nomination hearing is also scheduled for John Ratcliffe, a Texas Republican congressman who is Donald Trump's choice to lead the Office of Director of National Intelligence. Now, of course, there are several committees that will meet to debate issues related to the virus outbreak, including the nominee for an oversight commission. The Health Committee will hold a session on potential cures, and the Commerce Committee a hearing on the airline industry, but nothing about workers. Nothing about struggling workers or small businesses. Nothing about an aid package that includes more direct payments for workers. In fact, the Trump administration has said that they will not do any more direct stimulus payments, but are now looking for a payroll tax cut. McConnell himself, along with many Republicans, are instead pushing the reopening of states to solve any economic crisis. That's what our Congress is focused on. Now that the corporations have been bailed out and the markets have generally stabilized on Wall Street, it's back to business as usual, despite the fact that, again, 30 million people are out of work. They have lost their employer-sponsored health insurance. Rent has already been due. We don't know how many of the millions of people that are affected by this were not able to pay their rent for May or for April. So the idea, that opening this up in the middle of a crisis is going to solve this crisis is ridiculous, naive. And of course, if you actually don't believe it but are doing it anyway for an ideological purpose, you can call that evil. Now, people are not going to be spending money, of course, because they can't spend money that they don't have. So if you open up the state, who's going to be out there spending? Not a lot of people. Remember, pre-crisis, half of American people could not afford a $400 emergency. Now you have 30 million people that have lost their jobs and their health insurance, as I mentioned before, their paychecks. And look, if consumer spending is a cornerstone of our economy, which it is, well, there's one thing that happens when people no longer have the money to spend. That economy crashes. All the rich people and corporations can produce as much as they want. They can produce and produce and produce. If people are not buying those products, well, then it's not going to help the economy. In fact, there will be, at the end, mass layoffs, which will compound the current crisis for the businesses that have decided to stay open or reopen. People will lose their homes and be evicted once the states relax their temporary orders to stop those evictions. And considering how leading medical experts are saying that a new, deadlier wave of COVID-19 could come in the fall, all of this is going to spell unmitigated disaster later this year. But that's no matter to the GOP or their donors because they got theirs. They're all incredibly wealthy. The donors are, again, happy because they received trillions of dollars in taxpayer-funded bailouts. And the judges that are being appointed by McConnell right now will ensure that their priorities of more tax cuts and deregulation of industry and other conservative priorities on the social front will continue, even if these Republican congressmen end up getting drummed out of power in November. Their legacy continues unabated. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.